Welcome to HDPP Live on a Saturday night to the UK and around the world with photos, memories and friends. This is HDPP Live. How are you this evening? Are you all well?
Hinckley District has the present for you, meeting friends old and new. Streaming Wednesdays and Saturdays too, with founder members Paul and Sue. The smiles that we bring are a heritage thing. HDPP, keeping history alive. HDPP, streaming HDPP live. Where local memories survive. HDPP, streaming HDPP live. Film clips, photos, memories and friends helps a dreary night go by. We're in Hinckley, six of the best, stupendous, quizzical high. The smiles that we bring are a heritage thing. HDPP, keeping history alive. HDPP, streaming HDPP live. Where local memories survive. HDPP, streaming HDPP live. Let's take you back in time. A community affair. We'll take you for a ride. Henson's Cab will take you there. We're making history. HDPP, chat room applauses. History aside. Local causes. Streaming HDPP live. Betty is our queen bee. The sweetest honey candy. Dangerous Den here again. HDPP live. Hey, you know we keep it in HDPP.
Oh, well, here we go again. Hello. Here we go again. Yes, I know. Oh, Mrs. Get those lights in. Ring my bell. Yes, come on. Good evening. And oh, yes, here I am back in the newsroom of HDPP Live, and the bells make me frit every time. Good grief. Hello. Keep the likes coming. Annoy me. Go on. I dares you to. I know you will. Welcome to the programme Sunday night with Hinckley District past and present. Yeah, I knew you'd keep it going. I knew you would. Yeah, look. That'll wear Mrs. G out. She'll... no. I think that's it. Welcome to the programme. Yep, Sunday night with HDPP. And, well, what a busy few days we've had as well. And already plenty of people in the chat room will visit you in just a few moments' time. Let me just say that we had a busy time Friday night, Hinckley Christmas lights switch on. A very successful night in the end. Well worth the extra effort. First of all, thank you to Jill, to Marie, to Jan, to Mike, to Steph, to Sue, to me, and Uncle Tom Cobley, and all for coming out and standing there for a few hours. My back is only just getting over it now, but it's hard work, which is why we like more people to come and help us. But however, that's done, and I'm delighted to say we raised over... Can I tell them? Yeah. We raised over £200, actually, on the night for our local good causes, which is brilliant. So fantastic. And our lockbox was a runaway. So, better not forget Patricia. Nearly forgot Patricia. I'll be in trouble for that one. Great work we did on the microphone. We're cajoling everybody in with the HDPP lockbox. You know, find the key for 50p. And we had 5 winners. I think we said 5 winners on the night or thereabouts. Mainly children, which was great because the kids loved it. Great stuff. Anyway, so that's all done. My feet are just about recovered, but my back is still little bit achy from that. But it's all done now. And then, of course, yesterday morning, we were scanning in St Mary's Church. So, and we had a shed load of pictures coming. Great. You've seen some of the pictures already, and the pictures of the box it came in, the Bluebird toffee box. Great stuff, eh? But anyway, we did well, and thank you very much indeed for that. Getting too old for it, though, now. That's it. Let's have a quick look in that chat room. Look, I'll just scroll up here and we'll see who's here. Anne Hunt was first in this evening. Well done, Anne. We've got a handbag for you. A handbag? Yes, we have. Ian Roberts, good evening. Welcome to the group, of course, this evening. Jennifer Richardson's here as well. Kath Denny, who, can you believe this, today has put her Christmas decorations up. No. It's not December yet. Keep Christmas into December. Always said that. Kath, haven't you see? You could have spent much better time helping John complete his book. You see, that would have made much better sense. You see, but anyway, there you go. Good evening to Kevin Beasley and also Ian Walker. Good to see you at the the stall on Friday night, and thank you for your support, of course. Mary Blake is here, and David Blower is even here as well in plenty of time, running on time like a train doesn't. Yeah. Alan Slater, hi Alan, all the way from New Zealand. Yeah, as we are in our getting into our winter, they're well into their spring now, so I'm sure he's enjoying that. Also, Clive Armstrong is here. Carol Pease is here. Hello, Carol. We remember you. Hope you're coming along on Wednesday night to our social. It's going to be a good little social. I don't know what we're going to do yet, but we'll do something. It's our last sort of proper social. And then, of course, our Christmas party night is on December the 7th. Don't miss it. We've booked a singer. It's costing me an arm and a leg. Yeah, so please come along and enjoy yourselves. After all, we've done all the fundraising. This is the night for the members to enjoy themselves. Let their hair down, which I can't. But you can come along and enjoy it. Everybody's welcome. Anyway, also Paul Glover's here tonight. Absolutely brilliant. And Ian Walker was saying, well done to the cast and crew of Oliver for an amazing show at the Concordia Theatre last night. All done and dusted now, but well done to all concerned there as well. Jan Kirby's here, yes, and Maureen and Ray are here. Yes, hope you're all still having a good day. And look, the crops are in. The crops are in. We always know we can start when the crops and the Starnboroughs get in. We always know we're okay. Kit Parker is here on this cold, damp night. Aye, it was a cold, damp night. And it was the night that Anne Darling went out on a cold, dark night, out on her own, and come back with 50 men. 50 men? What colour were the lamp? Anyway, Dennis Perkins, Dangerous Dennis here again. Nice to know you there, Den. And thanks for your support. And he did a great job last Sunday at the Remembrance Festival, the Remembrance Service, rather, at Hinckley Memorial, laying HDPP's wreath. Well done and a job, good one there. Jeff Wallace is here. Nice one, Jeff said we're here. They're getting ready for Six of the Best. We've got a good one tonight for Six of the Best. Stay there. Kay Norton's here. David S. is here as well. Wow, look at that. Yeah, good grief. There's so many people there. Fantastic. Anyway, Jan Kirby said, I've been dreaming about pick a key for 50p. I wish I got a picture of Jan. She got the megaphone and... find the key for 50p. She was away in her own little world, she was. But she was happy. She was happy. And Patricia was shouting sort of the same on the microphone, but she was getting her words. She was saying all the right words, but not necessarily in the right order. Yeah. Good evening, Gary Betterley as well. And Kath Denny says, it's so much brighter now with everything up and the fire on. Good. That should be very conducive for John to start the final bit of his book one day. Anyway, good. we're all up to date in the chat room. So, with no further ado, let me get straight on to 6 of the best this evening. Now, as always, six mixed questions demanding the best of your local knowledge and indeed your general knowledge. Let's see what we've got today. So, here we go with our local question this evening. Question number 1. Ignore that new buildings, that shouldn't be there. Where it says new buildings, ignore that. That's my mistake. It's the bit at the bottom you want. Park Road, Edward Street, Forest Road. One shared this in common. We've used this question before. Was you paying attention when we gave you the answer? Ignore the new buildings bit. That shouldn't have been there. I'll sort that out in a minute. Park Road, Edward Street, Forest Road, one shared this in common. What did they share in common? That's question number 1. Question number 2, once again, I've gave you the answer to this many times in my talks to you. Have you been paying attention or have you been playing silly devils at the back? Knowing you like yes. Guess the date. The billiard hall on Station Road was knocked down in what year? Was it 1972, 1973 or 1974? I know the answer, but do you? Question number 3. Against which king was the gunpowder plot of 1605 directed? Yes. Okay, guys, when I shout action... I want you to come in with a barrel of... No, probably not. Anyway, so against which king was the gunpowder plot of 1605 directed? Quite easy, actually. Thought I'd throw that in, seeing that we're in November. Now then, true or false? The Amazon is not the longest river in the world. True or false? I can hear you now. I'll get Google on. Quick, get Google. I can see you. Yeah, straight on your mobile phones, having to look for that one, okay? That's true or false. You really ought to try and do this without the help of Google, eh? This is one Google can't really help you with in some ways. Now, where am I? I am in Hinckley, I will tell you that much, but where am I? Oh. And what is that thing on the roof? Oh. Anyway. There you go. And are you ready for the Aniogram? Here we go then. I'll leave it on the screen so you can get all your letters down correctly. Now, this has been checked and verified by Mrs. G tonight. There is no mistakes. There is no missing letters. It is Mrs. G approved. Okay? So, the anagram question. Steel transmittable wham. Steel transmittable wham. Now, if you rearrange that, you'll find... a pub in a village. You see, I like visiting all the pubs out and around and about. So we're not in Hinckley with this. We are out in a village close by, not too far away. So if you get the village, you will definitely get the pub. The clue I've put there is surprisingly sweet water. Because after all, we are talking about a pub. So I'll leave it at that for you. But we're in a village not a million miles away from Hinckley. Steel transmittable wham, rearrange that to give you a pub name and the name of the village. Cool, right. Go through it one more time, shall I? Very, very quickly. Say, forget the new buildings bit. That's a remnant from last week. The question is, Park Road, Edward Street and Forest Road once shared this in common. Oh. Somebody said lamppost. Go away. We're not talking lamppost. Question 2. The billiard hall on Station Road was knocked down in what year? 72, 73, 74? Question 3. Against which king was the gunpowder plot of 1605 directed? Naughty boys. Question 4. The Amazon is not the longest river in the world. Is that true or false? Where am I in Hinckley? We are in Hinckley tonight. There's enough clues in there to tell you where we are, I would say. Mrs. G said, I don't know. And then after I said, and she goes, oh, yes, of course it is. So that's where am I? Where am I? We'll come back to that in a bit. And finally, the anagram question this evening. Steel transmittable wham, with the clue saying surprisingly sweet water. We're looking for a pub in a village. Soon as you get the village, you'll get the pub. That's all I'm going to say on that one tonight, so I'll let you work on that one a little bit. Okay, now then. Okay, so as we come out of that and come back to the old chat room and everything, Kath Denny says, yes, I've got all the dates on calendar for socials. We're going to be there. They don't want to miss a good night out. Yeah, okay, that's good. And Gary Better's having a chat with somebody. It's all going on. Anyway, listen, tonight got some nice little features. We've got Noseh coming up shortly as well. But I thought before we do that, and if you're enjoying the programme so much, let's go. We've never shown this one. This is a first. But I thought, interestingly, because I thought this is different, but it's local enough to feature it. Ladies and gentlemen, did you know the secrets? We're going to find out all about the secrets, this is true, of the M69, the sexy slab. If you was a CBer, you used to call the M69 the sexy slab. Yeah. I could remember a bit of the old CB slang, yeah, good buddy, and all that lot. But anyway, let's go and find out all the secrets of the M69.
Hello, and welcome to Auto Shenanigans. How the devil are you? Have you had a good week? My name is John, and thank you very much for joining me for another exciting episode of Secrets of the Motorway.
What number are we thinking of? 69, dudes!
If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and help us get to that magical 100,000 subscriber mark. Today, I think it's going to be quite a short episode. We've come to look at the M69. 69. Grow up. The M69 runs for just under 16 miles between Coventry and Leicester and provides a very handy link between the M6 and M1 motorways. It was completed in 1977 and there are two junctions. Just two. The start of the M69 is at the Anstey interchange, where in 2009 a new road was built connecting the motorway junction to the newly created Anstey Commercial Park. The commercial park was built on what remains of RAF Anstey, an airfield that was built in 1936. The airfield closed in 1953, however, aviation work of some description still happens on the site to this very day. Following the merger of Rolls-Royce and Bristol Siddeley, Rolls-Royce inherited the site in 1966 and used it as one of their main engine manufacturing plants. There's been quite a few structural changes at Rolls-Royce here at Anstey over the years, or to put it another way, we fired a whole load of low-level employees to please our shareholders. Today, Rolls-Royce have a workforce of around 600 people on site, and they work on fan cases and turbine blades for the Trent series of engines. That's quite a considerable drop from the 2,400 workers that they used to have here in 2001. Anyway, most of the airfield site has now been built on, but I believe one of the Rolls-Royce buildings is still original from back in the day. And if you look on Google Maps, you'll notice a short stub of runway and section of perimeter roads. These have somehow managed to survive redevelopment. Just to the south of the site is a rather awesome looking gas turbine and engine testing facility. I think this was built in the 60s, I'm not 100% sure. At one point, rocket engines or rocket motors and such like were also tested on the site, but I think testing of that nature ended in the 1970s. Back to the M69. And we've not even started yet, and already there's an oddity to be found right by the Anstey interchange. On the southbound carriageway, there's a small singular ghost slip road to be found. But why is it here? It's not the result of a service station that was planned yet never built, as we've seen before, and it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense considering it's for joining traffic only. The answer took me bloody ages to find, but it turns out the original plans and ideas for the Anstey interchange were quite different from what we've got today. If you have a look at this map, you'll see that the intention was to extend the A46, which had they done so would have followed the route to today's B065. Just before Shilton Village is where we find the answer to our question. A loop was supposed to have been constructed, allowing traffic to join the M69 southbound. The slip road was constructed in preparation for this loop. However, as road planners like to do, they changed their mind, and instead we got what we've got today, which is shitter. Moving away from the Anstey interchange now, and as the M69 heads up towards Junction 1, it cuts through the site of an old airfield. On your left, you might spot the Gamecock Barracks, which is in the village of Bramcote. Now, I mentioned an old airfield, and indeed, the site used to be known as RAF Bramcote. Thanks very much to Ian on Twitter for this map. If you want to get in on the Twitter action, @JohnShenanigans, it's all right. But yes, the airfield was constructed in 1940, but in 1959, following a transfer of ownership of the airfield over to the British Army, the name was changed to Gamecock Barracks. In 1993, the 30th Signal Regiment moved into the barracks and they remain on site to this day. I'm up at junction number 2 of 2 now. I'm up at junction 2 of the M69 now, and it appears we're missing a set of slip roads. And indeed, the junction only allows you to join the M69 when heading north or to exit the motorway when going south. But what could possibly be the reason behind this? Laziness, that's what. Well, maybe. I shall explain. The M69, like most motorways, was built in sections, and the first section that was built ran from Leicester down to here at junction 2. So for a short while, the M69 sort of ended here, and there wasn't really a need to install any additional slip roads. Except there was. The junction 2 to Coventry extension was completed 7 months later, and somebody just didn't bother to install the slip roads here, or perhaps more likely, they didn't want to pay for the installation of any additional slip roads. In 2015, Labour MP Chris Keeley set up a petition to get the slip roads built and opened, stating that congestion in the area had become unbearable. According to Mr. Keeley, thousands of motorists and commuters in the east of Hinckley, Earl Shilton, Barwell and Burbage will benefit. Of course, if you were an MP living in, say, Burbage, near junction 2 of the M69, you might want some slip roads adding for your own convenience. But of course, as we know, MPs only act in the interest of others, so it can't be that. That said, Mr. Keeley might get his wish after all, because a company called Tritax Symmetry for some years now have been looking to open a 450-acre rail freight terminal right next to junction 2. As part of this mammoth construction project, they'll also install and build the slip roads that are missing, a small price to pay for the convenience, I'm sure, Mr. Keeley. Leaving junction 2 behind, and a short while after, we cross over the Nuneaton to Leicester branch line. If we follow this railway along for a short while, we'll soon come across the Stony Stanton Gas Distribution Centre. You might also spot the radio transmitter tower from the motorway, which marks the distribution centre's location. The site is operated by Cala Gas, a company that started in 1935 after Richie Gill from Cornwall returned to the UK after a trip to the United States. Whilst on his trip to the States, he noticed the popularity of liquefied petroleum gas, an idea that he wanted to bring over to the UK. It's fair to say that he succeeded, and the first gas filling station opened in 1947 near Bury St Edmunds in Suffolk. It wasn't until the early 2000s that the site here at Stony Stanton opened, along with 11 similar sites across the UK, or as Cala Gas like to call them, customer operations centres. The Cala site at Stony Stanton was actually built on an old quarry works. I can never say this. The Cala site at Stony Stanton was actually built on an old quarry which dates back to the early 1900s. Barrow Hill Quarry, as it was called back then, used to transport its materials via a tramway down to the main railway line, which was the previously mentioned Nuneaton to Leicester branch, and then the goods were transported somewhere else. I don't know. Today, half of the quarry sits abandoned and the other half is used as a fishing lake. Somebody did put forward the idea of building several holiday-let cabins on the site. However, the local council rejected this on the grounds of the environmental impact that it would have. From one quarry to another, although this one is slightly more impressive. Once you've driven past the Cala Gas site, you might spot this small hill poking out of the horizon. Croft Hill is not massive at only 128 metres high, and indeed is a fairly short walk to get to the top. It certainly does make for a lovely view, and over there you can spot the M69 making its way towards Leicester. The hill is great and all, but I did mention a rather impressive quarry, and if you look to the other side of the hill, you can't miss the massive Croft Quarry. Quarrying has been going on here since the early 1900s. In 1995, permission was granted here to excavate up to 45 million tonnes of materials, and at a rate of 2 million tonnes a year, which is what the quarry is capable of, this was pretty much done and dusted by 2018. So quarrying would have been over in 2018, but owners Aggregate Industries have applied to extend the quarry and excavate a further 6 million tonnes of material. A process that would take 20 years or so. And at the same time, the quarry owners have asked themselves the question, well, what are we going to do with this massive hole in the ground that we don't need anymore? Well, it turns out that the idea is to take all of the waste spoil and rubbish left over from the HS2 project and jam it all in here and fill up this massive crater. In any case, it looks like the quarry is going to be extended, so Aggregate Industries expect to be on site until at least 2052. And final fun fact, according to the internet, the quarrying has exposed 452 million-year-old igneous tonalite rocks. I don't know what those are. And perhaps as a result of this, the quarry and surrounding area has been designated as a site of scientific special interest. Did I get that first time? Site of special, did I say that? Site of, yes! Okay, that's enough sightseeing, let's get back to the motorway. Although there's not a lot of it left really, and as you approach Leicester, the M1 and the end of the M69 at the Whetstone interchange, you might notice that the carriageway sort of wants to keep going straight, yet you're forced to the left. And a little bit further along on the southbound carriageway, there's a bit more tarmac that looks like a road. What's going on? The answer is similar to the slip road we saw earlier at the Anstey interchange, where they installed extra bits of road in preparation for things that were to come later. Once upon a time, there were plans to have a completely different interchange design here. In fact, there's been quite a few ideas as to how the interchange should be laid out. Here's one, and it shows where the M69 would have carried on along our mysterious bits of tarmac. Here's another, where the M69 goes over the M1 on a flyover and links up with the A563, again utilising these leftover bits of tarmac. The large mound that we see between the two present-day carriageways was put in place to allow for the main carriageway to go up and over the slip roads. In the early days of the Whetstone interchange, it was a far simpler layout, and you'll notice that this map shows the A46M. Indeed, there used to be a short motorway spur that would take you off the M69 and into Leicester. Today, it's been renumbered as the A5460, and the entire area has evolved over the years into a right mess. It seems that the road planners just bolted things on without any thought or care as to the impact that it might have. Some of those crazy intersection ideas we looked at earlier are all of a sudden looking perhaps a little more sensible. And that's it really as far as the M69 is concerned. I've come to the Whetstone Viaduct a few minutes from the motorway's end because it's the nearest thing that doesn't look like Leicester and is perfect for a video outro. How does it go? There we go. Same as every week. That's all for this week then, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked this film, then there is of course a button specifically for that. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and absolutely enjoy the rest of your week, whatever it is you guys get up to. My name is John, you've been watching Auto Shenanigans, and I'll see you guys next time for another exciting episode of Secrets of the Motorway. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.
I think it's fair to say that we all thought in that, although it's interesting. Talks a bit quick, doesn't he? Absolutely. But I found that just the other day, actually. And James Garner, thank you. Keep the likes coming. James Garner, who used to be a regular viewer of this channel, he went to post it on the group. I said, oh, no, don't post. I said, I'm going to use that on Sunday night in the live stream. So there you go. But anyway, listen, it still showed you a few bits, which you probably didn't know. In fact, lots of things that obviously left out was obviously he could have featured the quarries at Stony Stanton and stuff. But however, I have that covered in another feature which I've got planned coming soon. Anyway, listen. Let's keep the lights coming. And how are you doing with 6 of the best? Yeah, I haven't seen anyone say they've got the anagram or anything yet. So let's go through. If you've only just joined us, Pat Galloway, good evening. We'll run this all over again just for Pat, shall we? Yes. Question number 1. Don't look at new buildings, that's not relevant to this. We're looking at Park Road, Edward Street and Forest Road. One shared this in common. We've used this question before. Was you paying attention when we gave you the answer last time? We're going to find out very shortly. Question number 2. The billiard hall on Station Road was knocked down in what year? Once again, I've told you this many times. Have you been listening? 1972, 1973 or 1974? Oh, right. Moving on, general knowledge. Now, against which king was the gunpowder plot of 1605 directed? Yes, which king? Once again, I can hear people tapping away on Google. Don't do it. The Amazon is not the longest river in the world. True or false? I'm saying no more on that one. Might surprise you. Question 5. Where am I in Hinckley? Yes, definitely in Hinckley for this particular picture. But where am I? Oh, now where can you see some trees like that? And a lamp like There is a couple of clues in there. Anyway. Good. Okay, and now moving on to the Haniogram. The anagram question, steel transmittable wham. Sounds like a band, doesn't it, really? Steel transmissible wham, live on stage tonight. The clue I'm putting there is surprisingly sweet water. So, what you've got to do, we're looking for a pub. It's in a village not far from Hinckley. So if you get the village, that will then give you the pub. It's like that, okay? And then you'll see how come the how the clue works, basically. Mrs. G said, yeah, not bad. Okay, she's got it. She's checked it. This is all working correctly. Steel, transmissible, wham. Surprisingly sweet water. Aha! There you go. Now then. So, once again, as always, do not put your answer into the old into the chat room, because people will nick your answers, you see. Yeah, they will. So don't do that. But as I say, write them all down and see how you're doing. And let's see how it goes. Jan Kirby said, I'm still working on it. And Kath Denny said, John had to take John Michael home, so only just started to look at the questions. I thought it was quiet from there. However, let's just see. David S. said, that made my head hurt, referring to the video we just had. Yes, the gentleman did talk a little quick, but that's how some people do it. I could have slowed it down, and we could have done it like that if you wanted to. Or we could do it very, very quickly. Let's see. Anyway, we're going to move on now. And while you're still working on that, we're going to have one of our a regular feature, which we haven't featured for a little while, which gives you a chance more time to work on the 6 of the best questions, because you've seen this, but it's worth another airing for brand new viewers. If you are a brand new viewer, by the way, nice to have your company tonight. Maybe you like to watch, but you don't like to chat. That's fine by us. Let's see if we can educate you a little bit about our jitties. Let's go up the jit. Yeah.
Where's that going, all? Up the jit mid up with me sen. The reference to Horace's point of destination was the jitty or yard or alleyway. Jitties and alleyways are common features of many towns across the length and breadth of the country. They are known by different names in different parts of the country. Snickleways in York, Ginnells in Harrogate, 10 Feet in Hull, Wines in Scotland, and courts in nearby Nuneaton. These yards provided passageways and access to the rear of the original timber frame buildings that fronted onto the old streets. These timber frame buildings, remnants of which can still be seen in Hinckley today, were often small farmhouses with a farmyard behind the cottage where farming implements and animals would be kept. Before the enclosure of the fields, the farmhouses were in the town. They'd been built on so-called burgage plots. The land had been divided into long, narrow plots for which a fixed rent was paid. The yards and jitties followed the lines of these plots. So to stand or to walk through the yards as they are today is to be transported back in time to medieval Hinckley. Back lanes provided access to the rear, but access was also required from the frontage. Hence, openings between buildings were created. These openings would later provide access to the housing that sprang up as a response to the development of the cottage industry of knitting stockings on frames. These cottages with the frames infilled many of those yards and replaced the old outhouses. This infilling was often known as the shops. As well as the dwelling places, there were stables, cotton sheds, warehouses and workshops. These yards were to be found all over Hinckley in the 19th century. In fact, a survey of maps, censuses and poll books undertaken by the late Fred Warren, who was Deputy Clerk to the Urban District Council, indicate that there were 83 of these yards and jitties dotted here and there and everywhere across the town. Technically speaking, the word jitty was usually the narrow entry to the yard. This might be a covered walkway between buildings of a few feet in length, opening out into a broader yard with buildings set back either side. Sometimes the words yard and jitty have become interchangeable, and the word jitty is often used to refer to the whole yard. The pavements, or causeways, or causes, as they were known, were often cobbled, or made up of hundreds of smaller stones, known as a petrified kidney pavement. Outside the museum cottages on Lower Bond Street, a small section of such a pavement can still be seen at the very front of the building. Sanitation in the yards was primitive before the late 19th century. Holes were dug for wells, and a midden, a large pit, at the back, took all the household and human waste. They were cleared late at night by the men and the 9 o'clock horses. There were several public pumps in the town topping wells dug in the streets, or having spring water piped into an underground sump. In these confined spaces and dingy conditions, in some places there was little sunlight, which led to a perennial problem with dampness. The yards were often several degrees lower in temperature than the surrounding areas. These yards were dimly lit at night by lamps burning whale oil, and the illumination was of very little use. The houses and cottages themselves were illuminated by candlelight and rushlights. Gas lighting was introduced into the town in 1834. In the 1888 poll book, historian Fred Warren again found that there were 511 houses in all of the yards that he had identified. If the average family was 6, this would be around 3,000 people living cheek by jowl with each other. Families would often have more members than this, of course. To keep law and order, and there was no police force, watchmen would walk through the streets and the yards, calling out the hours. For this service they received 7 shillings a week, and there were several boxes around the town where they could rest. When we look at the old pictures of the yards, we can catch a glimpse of domestic life. Rainwater and runoff was caught in old beer barrels, and then likely reused for other purposes. There were wire washing lines, and the ubiquitous mangle, often with a rain cover over it, ready for use on wash day, which could, in many cases, be every day. There was other domestic paraphernalia, such as old bedsteads, used as fencing, buckets and pails, yard brushes for sweeping the causey, tin baths, old prams, old tables, and bits of old bikes. Interior views of the cottages are rare, but one does exist in the museum collection, Fadair's Yard, off Stockwell Head. Very often we see extended window frames with several windows within the frame itself. These are known as the framework knitter's windows, and were created to allow the maximum amount of daylight in by which knitting frames could be worked. Families would often knit through the night in order to earn a little extra to feed and clothe themselves. The photographs that have survived often show buildings which are clearly of different ages adjacent to one another. The pre-1784 brick tax bricks are narrow, and post-tax bricks are much bigger. Timber framing gave way to brick, tile and slate buildings. On many of the photos, the houses are in dereliction, with numerous windows broken and window frames rotting away. The great fascination for historians and inquirers alike is that these jitties and yards were often called names to distinguish them. Some of the names related to the landowner. So there is a long list of yards and jitties across the town with titles such as Flavel's Yard, Ireson's Yard, Lord's Yard, Bloxham's Yard, Porter's Yard, Holland's Yard, Warren's Yard, or Truslove's Yard. Some of these yards have survived, such as Lily's Yard between Castle Street and Stockwell Head, and Blockley's Yard between Trinity Lane and Regent Street. Some names were taken from their mere location. Chapel Yard, for instance, was the yard connecting Castle Street and Stockwell Head, which ran against the wall of the old Wesleyan Chapel. Baptist Walk connected Stockwell Head and Hollier's Walk, passing the Baptist Chapel of 1805. Church Walk ran parallel between Castle Street and St Mary's Church, the proximity of which it took as its name. Old Workhouse Yard was on the site of the present Concordia Theatre Complex, and in earlier years had been known by the name Paw's Place. Some of the jitties and yards that were behind or adjacent to the many public houses that existed in the town took the name of the hostelry. So we can find 3 Tons Yard, Ram Yard, Queen's Head Yard, Half Moon Yard, Blue Boar Yard, Royal Oak Yard and Blue Bell Yard, and these are all examples of this type of yard. 2 have survived: King's Head Yard at the top of Castle Street, and a little further up, the Crown and Anchor Yard. Sometimes the names could sound grandiose, such as Crown Court, Rolls Court, Waterloo Square, Crown Terrace and Harold Square. In reality, the grandness was merely in the name. Waterloo Square was also known as the Cork Hole, and was reckoned as one of the worst slums in Hinckley, although that was not a difficult title to earn. The names behind other yards and jitties defy investigation into their origins. Cuckoo's Alley could be a derivation of Cuckold's Alley, but Cox's Abbey, Packman's Puzzle and the Salt Box are as baffling now as they must have been to people years ago. 5 foot and 10 foot may well have actually related to the width of the yard. Some of the jitties and yards were names that related to working premises, such as Chandler's Yard, a chandler being a maker of candles, or Tan Yard for the leather trade, and Rope Walk with its obvious connections. These were less common, and where the trade could also be a surname, such as Chandler, the origin is difficult to define. With the jitties and yards being considered by council inspectors as overcrowded and insanitary, it was not surprising that the council embarked on a slum clearance programme under the Housing Act of 1930. Efforts to move people out of these slums and into newer housing began in 1931. Each slum was photographed, and fortunately these photographs have survived in the museum collection. In the year of 1931, it was concluded that there were 272 houses unfit for human habitation. The first unfit houses to go were those in White Lion Yard and Fox Yard in Lower Bond Street, adjacent to the current museum cottages. Some of the houses in those 2 yards were dated as being 300 years old. In succeeding years, there were annual programmes of scheduled clearances and compulsory purchase orders. The council did make some houses fit for purpose at a reasonable cost. Sometimes private landlords would let their tenants modernise their properties. Thus, my own parents, Henrik and Doreen Droach, modernised number 16 Mill View, installing electricity, carpets and Formica worktops. They still needed to purchase a cat to catch the mice. This was after the Second World War, and the clearances of houses and cottages continued well into the mid-1950s. Back in the 30s, by 1936, the council had had to rehouse 1,347 people from the jitties and yards to housing estates on Rugby Road, the Jericho Farm Estate and the Middlefield Estate. Out of Hinckley's jitties and yards have come several notable figures. For instance, Cross Keys Yard in Upper Castle Street was the childhood home of Nat Langham, born in 1820, whose tortured childhood in the town is well documented. But he rose to be a pugilistic boxer of bare-knuckle fame and was considered the middleweight champion of all England. Golden Fleece Yard, later known as Davenport's Yard, was the home of the evangelistic strict Baptist preacher William Gadsby. He was originally from Attleborough, but married a Hinckley girl, Jane Marvin, and lived in that yard from 1796 until 1805. His preaching exploits took him to Manchester, where he eventually settled and built chapels and chapel communities, wrote hymns and sermons. He was known as the Apostle of the North. From Tanyard, which was on Druid Street, emanated the Labour activist and leader Jabez Chaplin, born in 1860, who was a member of the Independent Labour Party and was made Lord Mayor of Leicester in 1919 and 1920. Baines Lane, or previously Pentis Place, was the home of John Sketchley, born in 1823, a radical social reformer, champion of the working classes, an atheist and a Republican writer of political pamphlets. Brooks Yard was the childhood home of John Boltby Brooks, born in 1846, the creator of the sprung cycle saddle. It is tempting to be drawn into a rosy-coloured view of the Jitties and Yards. One has to remember that the cottages in the yards, however, housed some of the most poverty-stricken families in the town. In 1843, a letter to a national newspaper, the Morning Chronicle, said about Hinckley, "Eye hath not seen, nor ear hath not heard, and the heart cannot conceive the half of the suffering endured by the poverty-stricken people. Living conditions could be squalid, prone for the rapid spread of disease, consumption, typhoid and scarlet fever. From evidence presented to an inquiry into the state of the hosiery trade in 1844, the inhabitants of the Jitties and Yards were described as pale, undersized, and having poor eyesight. The pawnbrokers in the town did brisk business each week and were hated for it. In such poverty, the young girls were forced into prostitution, and it is estimated in the 1840s that 1 baby in 8 in Hinckley was illegitimate. With vice went criminality, and the Jitties and Yards were home to local criminals who were well known. One such rabble-rouser was the so-called Black Margaret, a woman of violent temper and intemperate habits. The newspaper columns, in their court reports, regularly recorded her misdemeanours. It would not be too fanciful to imagine groups of urchins, like an Artful Dodger or an Oliver Twist, frequenting the Yards and Jitties. Indeed, part of the Nat Langham story is that he was one such urchin. Stealing a hot potato one day from a seller on the market, he was caught and had a hot potato stuffed into his mouth. He lived the rest of his life with a physical impairment to his mouth and a pronounced lisp. The advent of the Heritage Action Zone, launched in September 2020, creates an opportunity to bring out and enhance the character of the yards that are left in the central area of the town. Inward investment in our remaining Jitties and Yards could make them a more prominent feature of the town and part of the unique offer of wonderful historic Hinckley.
It's nice to see that one again, isn't it? These features that we made 18 months, 2 years ago, they're like old friends. Every now and again, they come by and drop in and see you, and it's lovely to see them again. So, me personally, I never get fed up of watching them. And I look at on my list, I thought, oh, it's been a while since we've been up the jit. So there we go. And plenty of people commenting about that as well. And Jan says, I like it up the jitter. I'm seeing them all. Anyway, and some people have now got the anagram, by the way, I'm pleased to say. Dangerous Dan got it. David Starborough, the Starborough, they've got it too. And so you see, it is doable. And the clue, I think, is quite reasonable, actually. Dennis, tell me what you think of the clue. I think the clue was okay anyway. But anyway, and while that's been going on, Mr. Noseh himself, Steve, has joined us. He's in the chat room. If you want to have a chat with Steve, he's there in the chat room. Pat Galloway came in halfway through the broadcast tonight. Yeah. Jennifer says, can we have another clue for the anagram, Paul? I'm having a think. I'm going to have a think. I'll tell you what, why I'm thinking. Yeah, and Dennis Perkins, thank you. Dennis said, a good subtle clue. If you missed the clue or you weren't paying attention, let's go through them for the last time tonight. And off we jolly well go. Blimey, sound like Jimmy Young there. Park Road, see, I've got rid of new buildings now. Park Road, Edward Street and Forest Road once shared this in common. And probably a few other roads did too, but they're the ones I could think of that I knew was right. Question number 2, guess the date. The billiard hall on Station Road, knocked down in what year? One of them is the correct year. I've mentioned it many times. Were you paying attention? Question number 3. Against which king was the gunpowder? I keep going to say gunpowder. I don't know what it is. The gunpowder plot of 1605 directed, so you need to know your kings. That's easy, actually. Well, I think so. True or false, the Amazon is not the longest river in the world? True or false? Number 5, where am I? Yes, I'm in Hinckley, but where am I? You think, I should know that. I know that. I should do. Well, have a go at that. And, of course, the anagram question. Steel transmittable wham. Live on stage tonight. It really does sound like a band, doesn't it? Steel transmittable wham. And the clue I've used is surprisingly sweet water, which is quite subtle. You want another one? Attention! That'll do. Attention! That's another clue. Can't say no more than that. Surprisingly sweet water. Attention! And you'll know that, for those of you that's got the anagram, that's making perfect sense, isn't it, guys? Yeah, absolutely. Lovely. Now then, and anyway, meanwhile, back at the ranch and in the chat room, quite a few things going on about that. Maureen Harris says, I love watching that last video, Paul, Carol said, I do like to hear our Greg. Yeah. Yes, we'll hopefully be doing more stuff with Greg in the new year, we hope, anyway. He's just been very, very busy with things at the minute. David B says, I think I've got the grandma. Think opposite to Paul's clue. Oh, David, you are naughty. It could be. Dennis Perkins, referring to the where in Hinckley. I've seen that somewhere, but I can't think where. Oh, it's going to do your head in. Going to do your head in. Yes, it is. I know. Next time you see it, you'll be getting the answer, I'm pretty well sure. Anyway, so with that, it's Noseh time as well. So just get yourselves ready for your nosy. You got your cup of tea ready and your biscuits. Yes, that's right. That's good. So get ready for that. Just a reminder that, of course, on Wednesday night, it's our social night. Come along. I'm going to find a load of old pictures and we'll have a drink and a bit of a laugh together on Wednesday night. And if you're late to the party here this evening, like I say, we raised just over £230 on Friday night at the Christmas lights switch on. Hard work, but we did it. We used our HDPP lockbox. Thank you to everybody, by the way, that made cakes. Thank you, they were lovely. I didn't eat them all, but thank you. They sold well, thank you. But it was the lockbox that Jan and Patricia worked on for a lot of the night, and I did the final shift, and it did do very, very well. But as I kept telling them, you have to work it. You have to cajole people to come in and have a go, you know. And we were so lucky at one point when a little boy won it first, got the right key, opened it, and his face was a picture. And there was a £5 note in an envelope, and I said, "Here you are, that's your." He said, "Mine." I said, "Yes, you've just won it, you know." And then a few moments later, we put the next prize in, locked the box, put the key in. Somebody else come in straight away, put their hand straight in, and got it straight out. Mrs. G had only just put her bag down, so we had to put another prize in. But it was nice, and of course we made a big fuss about when people won, so everyone gathered round, and it was a good little earner, a nice little earner. So we'll be doing training sessions. We'll have a training session workshop fundraisers on how to work the lockbox. Jan will be doing that, I think. I do pick on Jan. She's great. We do appreciate that. Oh, and thank you, Jan and Mike, because we were busy Saturday morning scanning, and Mike getting us a cup of tea because we were marred under with a lot of pictures. So thank you. It is appreciated. I really do genuinely mean that. Right. Okay then. Jan Kirk said, "I wish I bought a lemon cake." Listen, tonight, Jan, just before we go, tonight because we bought Mike's ginger and ginger and pear. Thank you, pear. I couldn't think of the word. Cake, right? And we've been slowly eating bits. And tonight we had it with a custard on. Oh, it was just like being at the Boundary Hotel, you know. Fantastic. Anyway, lovely. Well done, Michael. Absolutely. Okay, it's time for a nosy. Listen, less of this. Let's go for a nosy with our Steve. Then we'll come back with the answers to 6 of the best on tonight's live stream. Here we come. Let's get your nosy nose on. Here we go.
Water. I think most of us, including myself, take water for granted, don't we? You know, it's so easy to go into your kitchen, turn on the tap, fill the kettle up, go upstairs, fill the bath, have a shower. We don't really think of it because it's readily there available, isn't it? You know, we built these humongous, reservoirs throughout the country, and in Leicestershire, I think Thornton Reservoir was the first one that was built in around about 1854 to supply the ever-growing city of Leicester with water, but it wasn't until the early 1900s where, people started to be able to have access to water in the homes. It began to be more affordable, I think, as well. And mains water, I think, was actually invented in the 1600s in London, believe it or not. And, that was only reserved for the wealthiest of people. It weren't for us plebs, do you know what I mean? Of course it weren't. But by the early 1900s, we'd started moving away from wells a bit more. And, people put more onto mains water, and then by around about the 1930s, I think most of the UK was on mains water. But in 1903, the house that I live in, when it was built, that had a well just outside the back door in the yard, and as you can see there, that is the slab outside my back door, and you can see carved within the top of the slab it says well. And I do keep meaning to uncover that, to have a bit of a nosy. You know what, that might be one for another video. We ought to check that out. But as per usual, it's all about exploration and getting us boots on the ground and muddy, although to be fair, I only had my trainers on today. But what you're looking at here, courtesy of the National Library of Scotland, is an Ordnance Survey map dated around about 1884, just on the outskirts of Ashby-de-la-Zouch. Well, at least it used to be. As you're going to see shortly, it's now surrounded by suburbia. Now, there are 4 wells that we're looking at in this video. 2 of them are classed as holy wells, including this one. Now, a holy well was somewhere that people travelled, from miles around to visit, because they believed that the waters in these holy wells had healing properties, and they'd also leave, ritualistically, gifts and what have you, and offerings at these sites back in the day. But this one, as you're going to see, is completely surrounded by suburbia. Anyway, and before I forget, hello, hey up and hey diddling, my name is Steve. Once again, it's a great big welcome from myself to Let's Explore. I forgot all about that one, didn't I, at the start of the video? Anyway, let's get us boots on the ground and go and have a nosy, shall we? Well, get us trainers muddy and wet and what have you. Come on, let's go and do it. Right then, so this is our first port of call today. We're in Ashby-de-la-Zouch in this suburban area. But of course, you know, back in the 1880s, as you can see now on the map, it wasn't a suburban area, because just down here in this tree line, we've got a holy well. Now, many people will walk up and down here every day with the dogs and what have you. You know, and they won't realise what's down here. You know, people would have travelled from miles around to visit this well. And just before I forget, just been talking to a local, Oliver, who lives just over there. He's just come and approached me and he says, I know who you are, what's your video? So, hello mate, if you're watching. Right, we need to get through here. Now, I did come down here in the summer, so I know that the well is still there. Got this new building site, so hopefully they haven't fenced it off fully. So, no, they haven't, so that's good then. Right, let's get down here. Oh, Indiana Jones in it on a Sunday afternoon. It's a beautiful day. It's quite mild, actually. Yeah, they haven't put any Harris fence panels up. We've just got a bit of barbed wire here like we had in the summer when I came down. But yeah, we've got a building site. Those houses weren't actually there. I think they were just footings last time I came down, so we're not interested in that anyway. We're not going in there. Only interested in the well, which is just down there. I love what there is to find, you know, in the strangest of places. You know, completely surrounded by suburbia. Well, watch me foot in here. It's quite a steep cutting that's been gradually, you know, carved out by this spring over well, maybe thousands of years, who knows. Wish I'd put my boots on now. But yeah, so people would have travelled from miles and miles to come and, you know, bathe in what they thought were healing waters. And do you know what? They may well have been healing. You know, water is kind of the all-giver of life, isn't it? So that does make sense. Right. There's like a little weir there, look. So that is the start of it there. But we'll get closer. It's quite... God, watch it. It's quite precarious. Oh. Right, so this spring then, this holy well of Ashby-de-la-Zouch rises just under this bank here. So just under there, it's a bit like at Holwell where we went in the summer. So, and here it is, look. So they were holding the water back in. Now, if you look at this, look, got this really intricate piece of brickwork. A beautiful old archway. Look at that. Ain't that nice? Now, I'm not sure. I can't see any evidence of one, but I don't know if there may have been a bit of a sluice on that once. A bit of a sluice gate valve. I couldn't tell you. But you got this weir here. If I just get round the other side. So if you do come down here and look for this well, just be warned, it is quite precarious if you're going to enter it from this end where it actually rises. I mean, you could walk up the brook where your well is on. I'm not sure what access is like down there, but, oh, bloody hell. It is quite precarious here. Right, I've survived that bit, just about. All for the love of nosiness, eh? But you can see this cutting. It's quite something, to be honest, when you're down here. And look at that. Ain't that pretty? That ain't bad, that ain't, you know. Right, so you can see it a lot better at this angle. We're at the front of the weir now, so at the top you've got red engineering brickwork. Not sure, that's maybe stonework there. It looks like it. There's a lot of moss and what have you growing on it now. Bit of rubbish there, but you can clearly see that beautiful little arch. Now that must have served a purpose, unless it really is just decorative, but maybe there was some sort of sluice there once. I really don't know, because I'm imagining maybe that back end, you know, behind it, there could have been a bit of a bath there where people could actually get into the water and have a bathe, or maybe it was just here between the arch and this weir wall, of course. But it's quite interesting because you've got this old piece of metal pipework here, look. So they were clearly holding this back, and at some point they were pumping this water, well, using gravity from this point, and further on down the stream, maybe to the actual the town of Ashby itself, which, you know, back in the day, as we've already mentioned, would have been you know, a good half a mile away, or 3/4 of a mile away from this actual site before they're built. You've got a bit of a plinth there, look, and you can see an indentation in it. That is where this pipe continued through here on top of there, I assume. There was most likely more of them down there at some point, but I'm not going to walk that brook today. I just really wanted to show you this little beauty here. Yeah, very pretty that. A nice thing to come across in the middle of suburbia, isn't it? Something that's survived for a very, very long time. Anyway, so what we need to do now is leave Ashby de la Zouch and go to Whitwick near Colville in Leicestershire. So I've got another well to show you. Let's go and have a nosey. Right then, so we're now down at Whitwick, and I'm actually stood on the old Charnwood Forest railway line. Got the old, what remains of the platform there. Now, it's St John's Baptist Church that we're interested in. Now, I was going to actually go in the graveyard and actually do some filming there, but it's Remembrance Sunday and they've got a gathering in there. So if you hear any pipes blowing and drums and what have you, you'll know what it is. It's from that. I've just been watching it, actually. It was quite nice. So this spring then, which is down here, it flows into the Grey Stew Brook just down here, and of course there's the church there. Now the amazing thing about this is, I was reading on the internet that apparently in the 19th century, so in the 1800s, this spring that is actually beneath this church, in the chancel apparently, beneath there, they actually used it to power the bellows of the church organ, unbelievably. Now you've got the Grey Stew Brook down here. We've explored that before. There's a beautiful old culvert, a large culvert down there that goes beneath the Charnwood Forest Railway. And just down here, piped up, ending up in this brook, is this spring. Let's say Noseh. Right, so you've got the back of the church there, and then of course just down here, down these steps, very old steps as well these are, you've got this spring that, so of course they were using this water then in the 1800s to power the church organ. Then later on, of course, decided to pipe this from here, from the church, into the brook. So very interesting that. It just shows you what little bits and bobs there are to find, don't they, in our neck of the woods. Right then, so now I've showed you this beautiful old spring here, which is babbling away in the background, chattering away at me, telling me to clear off. Let's get over to the beautiful village of Griffey Dam in northwest Leicestershire to show you another lovely village well. Let's go and have a nosey. Right then, so for his next well, we're in the beautiful village of Griffey Dam in northwest Leicestershire. Now this well that we're going to look at is just behind the camera, just over there, just over your right shoulder. And it's said that in back in the day that there was a mythical creature known as the Griff that used to protect this well. Well, let's just hope the Griff ain't here today, because we need to go and have a nosey. Come on, beautiful path. I've just walked up here 2 or 3 times to actually get me shot on me walking down, but I've not got my mic set up properly, had I? Because I'm a bit daft like that. Right, so here it is then, the Griffey Dam well, and very well tucked away at the bottom of this road here that's actually called Bottom Road, I think, between the road and this private residence to my left here. But as you can see, beautiful old well. It's actually gated off. Makes sense, really, keeps people out of it. But, you know, this would have been the centre of the village, really, village life, because, you know, this day and age, I suppose, you know, we take it for granted that you can just turn a tap on and have a bath, drink of water, fill the kettle up, you know, wash clothes in the washing machine. But, you know, back in those times, not that they would have complained about it, because it was part of everyday life. This would have been a social event, I suppose, coming to fetch water from the village well. And, you know, we take it for granted, don't we, I suppose? But it's fantastic. Beautiful stone round here as well, really, really old this, and you know, imagine the conversations that have taken place around this well. You know, absolutely fantastic. The Griffey Dam well, lovely. Right then, so the final well of this video is another holy well. It's the second one in the video. Of course, the first one was in Ashby de la Zouch. This one is on the outskirts of Loughborough, and it's actually right next to the Loughborough University campus. But I just want you to look at this map here, because this is an Ordnance Survey map from around about 1882. Now it says there Holywell Hall. Well, apparently that's a mistake. It should actually say Holywell Haw, spelt H-A-W, as in hawthorn bush. Now, I found a very interesting website this morning called the Megalithic Portal, and there's a little piece about it on here. And basically what's happened, when they surveyed the site, they've just left it as Holywell Hall, and that's what it apparently it was later known as, but it should be Holywell Hall. Now that means that this well, the Holy Well, was surrounded by I think a hedge boundary, so a hawthorn boundary. Now that's what it should have meant and what it should have spelt on this map. So I just thought I'd keep you in the loop with that. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, without any further ado, let's go and have a gander and a walk about round Loughborough University campus, as you do, to look for this well. Let's go and have a noseh. Right then, here we are on the Loughborough University campus, and this is where we'll hopefully find our next well, the Holy Well, of course. One of those wells where I imagine people would have travelled for miles to hopefully get the benefits of its healing powers within the water. But I don't know if I'm going to be able to find this one today. Now, before we go and find it, big shout out to my mate Andy Price, who watches my videos. Hello mate, if you're watching, because it was Andy that sent me the information about this place and pretty much showed me where it was on the maps. So thanks a lot, mate. Right, let's try and find it. University of all places. I think I might have to go back on myself, actually. It may be around these trees somewhere. Anyway, let's go on our noseh. Right then, so after a lot of walking about on the university campus, I didn't have to actually do that much, to be honest. I found it quite easily. Got the university campus buildings behind us, and then just here, you've actually got a stile. So whether this is a public path, I'm not sure. There's no keep out signs. But where what looks like upside down boats, I think that is the actual well. So I was going to have a noseh, so it was a lot easier to find than I thought it was going to be. To be honest with you, it's a bit rickety, this style as well. Right, and there it is. Now, what looked like boats that had been turned upside down are some sort of cover. Now, as you can see, you've got newish red engineering brickwork there, so they've actually done a lot of work around this to preserve it. You can actually look inside it here, so... Oh dear. Right, and here it is. An ancient well. Amazing stuff. Now, what they've done, they've actually, like I say, I've got to stick my head in. So, got some old pipe work there, look. Now, what this would have looked like centuries ago, I don't know. There is still evidence, if you look carefully down there, of really old stonework. And in the modern era, they've built up on top of it with with concrete, look. So, that water does look absolutely gin clear, though. So, amazing. I was actually expecting and hoping to get down here and see a lot of stonework, but not quite the case, unfortunately, and an outlet pipe up there which will be going into the brook. So I did read with this particular well that it's constant, and as you've just seen, there's a continuality of water actually in the well itself. I'm not going to go down here, it looks really boggy and I ain't got my boots on, but as you can see there, look, 4-inch plastic drain pipe there with the overspill, and that is continuous, and they reckon that this is some of the purest water around. I mean, I'm not quite sure how true that is, but just shows you, don't it? Right, let's get out of here. Right, well, I hope you enjoyed this little video. Something a bit different for you, to be fair, weren't it? And as many of you know, I'm fascinated by water courses and where water actually comes from. You know, the sources of rivers and stuff. I've not really gone into depth with anything like that on my videos. Maybe I should, because it is an area that does fascinate me, to be honest with you. But I think we've seen some interesting things there. I mean, the one in Ashby, I mean, that's fantastic, isn't it? You know, surrounded by suburbia, you know, people would have been going on pilgrimages, I can never say that, pilgrimages, over the course of millennia perhaps, to find and bathe within the waters of that one at Ashby, just like this one here. The one at Griffey Dam, of course, being more about drinking water, I suppose. But anyway, hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please share it, because when you share the videos, hopefully help someone else to find it and watch them, and hopefully they subscribe as well. And also that like button, you know, if you click that like button, I know I mention this now and again, but apparently if you did like it, click like, and it really does help with the algorithms apparently, and it helps put project your videos according to form. Don't know how true that is. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you at the next one. Bye-bye.
And there he was gone. Oh, he's pressed the wrong button here. That's the button I wanted. Yeah, there he was gone, our Steve. Great one, that one, Steve. Nice one, actually. And there's a few Holywells, used to be around Hinckley, but no actual trace of them now, which is a bit of a shame when you see some of them that at least survive, even though, like you say, they are in suburbia. But lots of people enjoying that Nosey with our Steve. Nice one. I know going up towards Griffey Dam and all that. Yeah, I used to go up there. What was the pub we used to go to up there near there, Mrs. G? Was it a Black Horse? I can't remember now. Used to do lovely pub grub up there. It was really good. Anyway, I digress. And I like how Steve said, I like finding out, where water surface is and, where it runs and all the rest of it. So, I've never really gone into it in depth. And I thought, oh, very, very droll. Very droll. And I doubt he knew that he said it. And it made me giggle. There you go. Anyway, listen, and great old maps as well, as Steve's just saying there in the chat. I love looking at old maps. I mean, they really are truly fascinating. I can sit and read a map much easier than I can sit and read a book. Now that is true. I really, really do. Anyway, listen, how are we doing with 6 of the best? In a few moments' time, we're going to give you the answers. I'm just giving you a chance to get yourself all organised. We do have some winners on the anagram. If you got the anagram, well done, because it's always a little bit of a stinker. But if David Blower can get it, now listen. Sure, the rest of you can as well. We're going to go over the questions and give you the answers in just one moment. A reminder once again about Wednesday night. Please come along because, figures just in the last few months have been a bit lower than what we normally get. And as I say, it still takes a little bit of organising the social nights. You have to plan, well, what am I going to do? Get all the stuff there, projector up and get it all there. And then when there's only a small amount there, although we always enjoy our companies and everything, you think, if I knew it was going to be like that, I would have stayed at home, So please come along. I mean, I know a lot of you are very loyal to us and we do appreciate it. Bring your friends along as well. Everybody's welcome at our social nights. So please do. We'd love to see you. Okay. Right then, and they're still talking about Griffey Dam, look. Yes, the Traveller's Rest at Griffey Dam was owned by one of Waddy. Yeah, exactly. Yes, that's very, very true. With no further ado, then, come on, let's do it. 6 of the best, here we go. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to see who is going to be the first person to put the correct answer up for question 1. So, this is to prove that you've got it right. Okay, then. Right. So, question 1, Park Road, Edward Street, Forest Road, once shared this in common. Yeah. So, I'm just waiting to see if anybody's got that one before I give the answer out. So, Park Road, Edward Street, Forest Road, once shared this in common. Maureen Harris and Jeff Wallace first in. Yeah, well done. Is the co-op. Exactly right, Jeff Wallace. David Starnborough, he couldn't, he's just gone cut it to the chase. David, you're spoiling it. We're not doing that bit yet. I'm going to remove that a minute. Wait for it, David. Wait for it. Yes, we were looking for... We were looking for co-ops. We were looking for co-op shops. Okay. So David Starnborough had put the answer into the anagram. We haven't got to the anagram yet. Wait for it, David. Wait for it. Okay. Question number 2. Guess the date. The billiard hall on Station Road was knocked down in what year? Okay, tell me, ladies and gentlemen, what year do you think the billiard hall in Station Road was knocked down? Stop it, Kath. Maureen Harris, first in with 1973. You are correct. Jan Kirby, 1973. Jeff Wallace, wrong, 74. David Starnborough, 73. Yes, the correct answer being 1973. Well done. Well done, Paul. Well done, Jennifer. And John Denny coming in with a 73 up. I was going to say... I was going to say... Oh, that's very unprofessional. I'm just going to... I can't do it. I've got to move on. I shall get into trouble. Question number 3. Oh dear. Question number 3. Against which king was the gunpowder plot of 1605? Yes, you're getting it right. James I, or if you'd put James VI of Scotland as well and James I, I would have accepted that as well. Yeah, King James it was. Yeah, yes. Oh dear. Anyway, I think I've just about composed myself again now. Yes. So yes, it was. The year your son was born in 1605, Russet. That's very interesting, actually. I think she's referring to 1973. Oh, I'm sorry. It's all going wrong now. Oh dear. Yes, it's obviously the chat room catching up. I do apologise if you're not seeing the chat, which you can't at the minute. You'll see all this in a minute. Question number 4. The Amazon is not the longest river in the world. True or false? True or false? Come on. Now then, let's just see. Jeff Wally says true. Jan says it's not true or false, it's Niall. Only Jan could do that. Maureen Harris, false. Jennifer Richardson, true. False. Well, the Nile is longer. Well, it is. Well, it's the Amazon is the largest river, and the Nile is the longest river. So there you go. Now, John Denny, of course, it's debatable. Well, you can, if you like, debate it amongst yourselves later. So we're saying it's true. It's not the longest river. Right, where am I? Let's see who's going to get this. John Denny will get this because he's just like that. Well done, Kevin, on that one. Right, go measure it. I haven't got to tape measure long enough. Right, Jennifer Richardson, Hollycroft Park. No, it's not. Not Hollycroft Park. Ian says you're all in denial. Right, right, just a minute. Right, Jeff Wallace, congratulations. Yes, you've got coming first with the Lawns Health Clinic. Kevin Beasley, the Lawns. I know, take a breath. I know, I've been hysterics here. John Denny, the Lawns, the Lawns Health Centre. The Lawns, or today it's actually the Lawns Business Centre, but yeah, you've got the right place. And just to prove that I did do it, here we are, look, there it is, in its full entirety. There we go, just so you know, that's where we got to. Now then, finally, the anagram. David Stamborough, do you want to put the answer in now? You can do, David, go on, because you was obviously you were so keen, yeah. Let's see if David Stamborough can put the right answer in now. Oh, look, John Denny couldn't resist it. The Man-at-Arms, Bitterswell. You'll find, John, that there is no R in Bitterswell. It's Bitterswell. So, but I'll take it. Jeff Wallace, the Man-at-Arms, Bitterswell. You see, surprisingly sweet water. So opposite, you see, to sweet is bitter. Yeah. David Eggington, the Man-at-Arms, Bitterswell. And my second clue was attention. You see, you've got it. Well done, everybody. So if you got that, yes, let's have your scores, please. Kevin Beasley got 4 tonight. Amazing. Well done, Kevin. Yes, John said there is an R in Bitterswell. When I spell it, he would do, yeah. Right, let's have your answers. 5 tonight from David Stamborough. Well done. Jan Kirby, 5 tonight. Well done, Jan. 6, John Denny. Well, he would, wouldn't he? Dennis Perkins, 3 for Dangerous Den. 5 for Jan. We've got you, Jan. And well done, Alan Slater. He said, yeah, I got 3 tonight. Brilliant. And 5 for Jeff and Anna. Well done out there in the wilds of Lincolnshire. 6 out of 6. Congratulations to Paul Glover. He has his 6 there, absolutely. And while I'm telling you all that, let's just put the vision back on so you can see all the chat that's going on. 2 from Russet tonight. Maureen Harris got 4. Jennifer Richardson 3. And Queen Bee, anagram beat me tonight. Well, that's honesty for you. Queen Bee, no problem, there's no shame in that. Dave B got the grandma, that's good enough, he says. And 3 for me, says Carol Beasley. David Stamborough says, sorry about the pub ass. See, he was so excited that he got it, he put it straight in. Oh dear, I've had a laugh tonight. It's been really, really funny, but well done. Well, listen, I hope you enjoy this. This is Sunday night, you see. The Screaming Shout show's out the way now, you know, and if you don't want to watch the footy and all that, apparently there's a World Cup on. I've got no feelings for it this time at all, which is very unusual. I usually like to watch a bit of it, but there you go. As I say, but it doesn't matter. Come along on Wednesday night to the Greyhound. Mary Blake won all that money, so she'll be buying the drinks. No, I'm jesting seriously. Don't take me on that, please. And if you, that's true. If you won a prize, get in touch with us, and then we'll sort out how we're going to get your prize to you, because we've still got one or two here which people haven't collected yet. So just let us know. We'll make arrangements. Okay. Okie dokie. Right, until then, so I'll look forward to seeing you on Wednesday night at the Greyhound. And we'll see how things go there as well. And then, like I say, we'll be back next Sunday night with another Noseh, which obviously has just been uploaded. So if you can't wait for another Noseh till Sunday, go over onto Steve's website now, and over on YouTube, and you can see it now. And then, like I say, we will be back. We'll be back. Yeah. Next Sunday night, 7:30. So remember, until then, to keep it HDPP, to keep it live. Take care. Good night. Hello. I'm still giggling tonight. I don't know. I've just got a fit of the giggles in my mind. It's a stupid mind. John Denny coming. It's just tickled me. It's what I was going to say that's tickling me, and I thought, no, but it involved John Denny and his answer. And to the ordinary person, it won't mean anything. But to me, it's just the way I was going to deliver the line, and it would have sounded very naughty, let's put it that way. Anyway, you've just popped back, you know why, because you come back for a little chortle, a little laugh to send you to bed with a little smile on your face, particularly if you won one of our prizes as well. A couple of dad jokes just to get you in the mood, ready for a new week ahead. And we start off with this. Are you all ready for one? You are? Okay, here we go. I get all kinds of weird looks at the gym. Can't they buy their own pizza? Yeah, we're off. By the way, keep the likes coming. As Steve said, thank you. As Steve says, the likes on the video are important because it really does help with the antibiotics and the analytics and the bionics and all that thing. Okay, sorry, moving on. I say, what is yellow and kills you if you get it in the eyes? A school bus. Wise words coming up now. It takes two to create trouble in a marriage: the wife and the mother-in-law. I have to say, I am very lucky. I've got the best mother-in-law in the world. I can tell you that for nothing. I really, really can. Where am I, Tap? Oh, yes. A waiter came to me in Pizza Hut the other day and said, "Oh, I see you have an empty glass there. Would you like another?" No! Stop, I haven't finished yet. I don't know what's going on with people. What would I do with two empty glasses? That's it. Cocked that one up, didn't I? Yeah. And And also, I love vegan food. It makes an excellent side dish to any meat. Like that one. Finally, I'm offering this one tonight. Quite funny. A man goes to the doctor and says, "Doctor, I've swallowed a key. Can you please get it out of my belly, please?" The doctor asks, "When did you swallow it?" He said, "Oh, about 3 years ago." "Really? Well, why are you coming this late?" "Well, I lost my spare key." And on that, you just haven't on that. Stop it. And on that note, we will say good night. We'll see you soon. Good night. Bye-bye.